Hi, I'm Claire from Cora Consultancy, and I'm going to take you through my leadership workshop today, going through the word leadership as an acronym to really give you a memorable way of the skill set that a good leader should embody. So let's get into it. To listen is to encourage input, ensure all voices are heard, and actively listen to your team. By doing this, you'll get the best out of them, and also they'll get the best from you as well as a true, strong leader. Empower, give ownership and build confidence in a team. Understand their skill set. Once you have that, you'll understand where to pivot each member, how they can learn from each other, and also really encourage them to put their best foot forward in the areas they are best at. Adapt. So, as a leader, you need to anticipate change. You'll hear of this internally before your team do, or should do anyway. And this is something that you really need to become more and more comfortable with. Remain agile and encourage change. It really works well. It really strengthens the team and will build a very resilient team around you as well. Be decisive. So make confident, informed decisions. With your confident, that will definitely cascade down to your team. Be direct with your team. Give them direction and follow up with those directions that you give in a form of weekly deliverables, KPIs, objectives, and so forth. To encourage is to motivate and support your team. So listen to them, empower them, and make sure you're creating a soft, safe environment for your team where they can trust you and they can feel like they can have an open conversation for anything that is possibly troubling them, something they find a little bit difficult. You create that safe environment for them. Another core skill is respect. So this is without a doubt a two-way road. Give and you shall receive. Get to know your team, celebrate successes and milestones. If you give them this respect, they'll most certainly pass this back to you. Another core skill is strategize. So give a clear vision on where it is we need to get to as a business, as a brand, whatever it may be. Align on a roadmap. Encourage your team at this point to be on board so that you can delegate in the right way. And again, continue to measure progress. Make sure everybody's on the right track and within the timeline that you'd set aside to actually achieve this in. Honesty. Be transparent and feedback honestly to your team and also encourage that feedback for yourself as well. This will really embody trust, honesty within a team, and ultimately we'll really see a very fulfilled team going forward. Inspire and ignite passion with shared purpose to your team. Give your team the autonomy to fulfill. This will no end bring results again and again. And with inspiration brings passion, brings an enjoyment to your actual work. Pivot. So, being able to pivot will foster a culture of agility and conscious improvement. It happens. Change is always there. We all have to move, switch lanes, whatever it may be, but definitely continue to pivot. And once your team see this and you're doing this comfortably and with confidence, they will again adopt and foster the same way of thinking. So then we move on to making time. This is super, super important. When you make time for your team, you understand exactly who they are, what they're capable of, and where you can take them next from a progression point of view. So I suggest a weekly 30-minute one-to-one dedicated for each team member. Of course, this can be different if you have a very large team. Then I would suggest maybe having some of your seniors take the more junior one-to-ones and then them leading these messages up for you. And of course, then where the more junior members need you on a more ad hoc basis, maybe do an open hour, something like this. Provide that safe and confidential space that I spoke about earlier for your team. It's incredibly important. They need to feel comfortable and confident in their working environment to be able to execute what you expect from them. Then actively listen. I said it before, I'll say it again. It's something you really need to do with your team within these one-to-ones. Be present. make sure you're giving them that dedicated 30 minutes. It's for you to kind of lead with giving holistic updates from a business perspective, and then let your team member really then kind of drive the rest of the business conversation or health check. It's always good to be able to check in on a team member and make sure they're feeling good, feeling like their workload is manageable, they're not overwhelmed, etc. And create an ongoing document for sharing updates and be prepared for one-to-ones. So this is really important when it comes to knowing where your team member is up to, the conversations that they want to have, so you can prepare for that. And also, if there is a change in management, there is traceability of what's being covered so that nobody feels like, I've been here, I've done that, why am I doing something again? There's traceability. So making time, super important. Make sure you do that. And communication. So communication is super key as a leader. Without this, I would be safe to say it won't go very well. Communication and clear communication is something that will be learned over time, and the more you mix with certain levels. So from a C-suite, for example, there are people in those positions that don't have a lot of time, nor usually space in their head to keep listening to every message they hear throughout a day. So make sure that what you're delivering to them is clear and edited. And what I mean by that is, okay, this was the objectives. This is where I am with it now, and this is the impact it's having. Those are the things that anybody in that sort of position will need to know and want to know. Managing vertically. So what I mean by this is with stakeholders, with peers, who's owning what and how responsibly, what issues they have, if any, and why. So it's very important to understand from a stakeholder and a peer perspective who is owning what, so that there's no grey areas and people aren't doing each other's jobs, and ultimately you're going back and forth instead of forward. So that's super important. And then managing down to your direct. So this is incredibly important because those are ones that actually do the majority of the work, your team. So being really, really clear on what is it they need to do, the why and by when, a deadline is imperative. What's the impact to the business? I'm doing this and it's going to do what to the business, because that is then when you get the ignition and the passion of, okay, I'm delivering this. I was part of that project. I was part of that huge milestone. This is incredibly important to be very, very clear and concise with your team about that sort of communication line. And this brings me to my tips and takeaways. So seek feedback constantly as a leader. Seek feedback. It's so important because you yourself need to grow and want to grow. I think that's super important. How I would go about that is to do active quarterly reviews. In that way, you're going to capture a couple of different projects which have had a couple of different angles of how you've approached them, how your team have approached them. And then be open for honest feedback from the team, maybe in a format of stop, start, continue. The team might suggest, okay, we don't need X amount of meetings to get this across. We prefer if we didn't have that layer in there, whatever it may be. The start, let's implement something. We need to have this visibility, whatever that may look like. And then what they need to continue. So we really like this part. Let's continue doing that. It's working. That's something we really enjoy. And the next part is to reflect. It's something often we're very busy. We keep going. We tend to forget to stop and reflect. And what I mean by that is reflect on your performance as a team and individually, celebrate, and then from there optimize on that. Okay, this went really well. We're going to put this in a different format. We can elevate this. We can push it even further. Reflect on as well when you do that is how to approach something better the next time round. So there's always a learning to be had, always something to be improved on, and this is a perfect format and forum to do that in when you take the time to reflect on performance. Exploring new techniques. So as a leader, Seek upskilling, and this could be from right in front of you. Sometimes we look for external things, which are great, don't get me wrong. However, there are peers and other leads that we work with. And if you are an entrepreneur, but you might see somebody like on LinkedIn or on some post or some YouTube channel or something like this, don't be afraid to reach out to that peer or somebody that's inspirational to you and say, love how you communicate, love how you put a presentation together, or how you lead your team. Can I either buddy up with you from a mentorship point of view? Or could you give me some hints and tips, whatever that may look like? But actually tapping into something that's super close to you is a good way of optimizing um, really, really close relationships and growing on them as well. So don't take that for granted. The people that are around really, it's a great tool to have. Communicate. It's something that, like I said before, without this, it's a fundamental skill that will underpin absolutely everything. So communicate and cascade information to your team, keep them in the loop. This will help them. It will build trust in you that, we know what's going on because you've given us the information, we're fully aware. And if they're informed, they're ready, so something they don't know, they're learning, they're getting used to. If they already know, they're informed along the way. Okay, we knew about that, we seen that come in, we were briefed, whatever it may be, they're ready to go. And then the final tip and takeaway from this slide is, as leaders, please do not forget to set your own personal goals. So when you go through, even my slide right now as being, as a leader, give, do this for your team. It can be often something that we forget is, what about me? What about how I continue to grow and evolve as a leader? And if you want to get into that next stage, whatever it may be, but do take the time to put together your own personal objectives. Your lead should be doing this, but also carve out what you want to do. And do not get lost in the giving. It's super easy to do because you may have a very big team, you may have a big workload, and you just keep running and running. But take the time, block out that time in your diary, however frequent you need it to be. Weekly, maybe monthly is more achievable. Where, okay, 1 month I'm just going to sit down and kind of go through everything I've worked on and achieved this month. Do that. It will really serve you in a big, big way. Make time for yourself, please. And then, of course, this is a recording. I have done a workshop and I had some really interesting questions. Some of them I can go through with you now so that there may be questions that you have as well. So yeah, let me go through that. So in the Q&A that I had within my LinkedIn workshop, it was around delegation. So let's take example, 2 team members. I give a certain part of the project to one team member and a certain amount to the other because I need them to get to point B. One team member feels a little bit unsure about why they've been given such a task, and the question that was put to me is, okay, one team member felt like, oh, I would have wanted what that other person got delegated. Could you, can I have that next time? Why did I get it? Make it clear. So tell that person that, the reason why I gave you that was, there's 2 ways. Either this is an area that I need you to develop, so I think it's a great opportunity, and that's why I've done it, and I will give you the support that you need to get and achieve that. Or it could be, you know what, this is where your skill set already lies, and I need this to be done in a certain way, and I know you are more than capable of it. That's why I've given it to you. So giving them that transparency straight away, it gives them empowerment because you're entrusting them, you're being honest, you're being transparent, and you're giving them direction. So when you do something, back it up with the reason why. It always really, really helps. Another question that was asked was, some directs really keep pushing back. They don't want one-to-ones. They feel like they don't need one-to-ones. It is something that is imperative. Maybe within your business style, it's not needed on a weekly basis. It depends on how fast you move. But you need to check in to know, are we on the right track? Is where we're going still going to be achieved in a timely manner? One, are we on the right track? You could have gone left somewhere where we needed to go right, and you need to come back quickly and get on that road. If you go too far, it's going to take too long to get back. So definitely checking in on direction is good. Checking in on timelines is imperative, because if you don't and you've left it for a month until you check in, it could be too late, and then the impact is too great. So make sure you do that. Also, checking on your team members' health, making sure they're feeling okay, they're not overwhelmed. There could be a reason why they're pushing back on their one-to-ones, that, I don't have the time, I don't feel like I can delegate 30 minutes, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Try and find out. This could be then sheer workload, or it could be a time management topic. So really try and find out why somebody is pushing back on having a one-to-one. I think these are really good. And then also from a leadership point of view, one of the other great questions that came up was, I have 10 directs. How can I actually give them one-to-ones, maybe as a suggestion, of 30 minutes per person? That takes up the majority of my week to prepare, to follow up. What I would suggest there is, if you have a team that size, you should have seniors, juniors, and then more entry level. Try and get your seniors to look after the juniors, and the juniors to look after the entry. In that way, if it works as a funnel, and then you're delegating and empowering them to lead, and that then causes a positive funnel upwards, that you're then dealing with maybe a couple of seniors to get a holistic view of the overall team. Or where maybe you don't need to check in as regular, do a peer level. So maybe have a senior level round. And if it's nothing too personal that they can share in that round, you can get then, maybe 3 or 4 of your members of your team have the same discussions in that realm. Of course, there may be things that you need to discuss offline personally, but that should definitely help as well. So you're doing peer level sections of one-to-ones in that way, which are then not one-to-ones, they're peer level team updates, but you're being able to get out the same intention that you would with a one-to-one. So those were a couple of questions that I had in my workshop. I hope they've helped. If there are any questions that you have, please message me and comment, and I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. I will definitely get back. And the last slide is, of course, me and what I do. As I mentioned at the top, I am the founder of Cora Consultancy, which is as a career coach, helping people in leadership roles, people that may want to change their role in a different career path, or taking that next step on their ladder. Also, I work with brands as a consultant to help brands launch and scale. So yes, if you'd like to know more, please contact me. These are a couple of my socials where you can get hold of me, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you, and I hope you've enjoyed it.